Hey everyone, and welcome. In the next few minutes, we're going to dive into how the best teams out there use Azure Boards to take these huge, ambitious ideas and turn them into real finished products. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it's done. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? You've got a brilliant idea, but how do you actually manage all the moving pieces, keep everybody on the same page, and deliver something amazing without everything descending into chaos? It's a challenge every single team runs into. For a lot of teams, the answer is a tool like Azure Boards. But don't think of it as just a glorified to-do list. It's so much more. It's like your team's Agile command center, the one place that holds the single source of truth for a project, from that first spark of an idea all the way to launch day.
So, how does it really work in practice? Well, it all starts with giving your work some structure. You can't just tackle a massive project all at once. The very first step is breaking it down into smaller, manageable pieces that the team can actually get their hands on.
And Azure Boards gives you this really clear hierarchy to do just that. At the very top, you have the epic. That's the big business goal. That epic gets broken down into features, which are the major capabilities of your product. Then, those features are defined by user stories, and finally, those stories are broken down into the individual tasks. And see those arrows? That's the key. They show you have this clear, traceable line from the tiniest piece of work right back up to the big picture.
Now, the user story is really the beating heart of this entire system. The most important thing to remember here is that it's all about the end user's point of view. It's laser-focused on what they need and why they need it. It deliberately leaves the how, the technical details, for the development team to figure out.
And this is a perfect example of what makes a user story solid. This is what we call acceptance criteria. It's not wishy-washy, it's a testable statement. Did the user get to the dashboard page? It's a simple yes or no. That kind of clarity is what stops misunderstandings dead in their tracks later on.
Okay, so we've got all our work broken down into these nice, manageable chunks. Now what? How does a team figure out what to work on next? Well, that's where sprint planning comes in. It's all about building the mission for the next week or two. Everything kicks off with the backlog, and this is not just some random brain dump of ideas. It's the project's master plan, and it's always prioritized so that the most valuable, most important stuff is sitting right at the top. This makes sure the team is always working on what truly matters.
So to help decide what actually makes it into the next sprint, teams will often use a simple framework like Moscow. It's just a really practical way to force some tough decisions. What must we get done? What should we do if we have time? What could be a nice bonus? And maybe most importantly, what are we explicitly not going to do this time around?
And this is the million-dollar question in any planning session. You can have the most beautifully prioritized backlog in the world, but if you try to stuff too much into a sprint, you're just setting everyone up to fail. Overcommitment is a fast track to burnout and sloppy work. And this is why capacity planning is so critical. You're not just thinking about total hours available, you're planning by activity. Take a look at this chart. The team has planned for 60% of their time to be development and 30% to be QA. This lets them see right up front if they actually have enough testing time for all the new code they want to write. It helps you spot bottlenecks before the sprint even begins.
All right, the plan is solid, and the team is off to the races. Now the focus totally shifts from planning to actually doing the work. So let's look at how Azure Boards helps you see and track that work every single day.
Generally, teams use one of two main views. On the left, a kanban board is awesome for teams with a steady, continuous flow of work, like a support team. On the right, for teams working in those fixed sprints, the sprint task board is their daily home base, showing every task for the stories they've committed to.
Now, on these boards, one of the most powerful things you can do is set work in progress limits, or WIP limits. This simple rule forces the team to finish work before they start new things. It sounds basic, but as you can see here, it's a game changer. It stops that in progress column from becoming a parking lot, which cuts down on multitasking and shines a bright light on where your real process problems are.
So you're halfway through the sprint. How does anyone, from a developer to a manager, actually know if you're going to hit the goal? Gut feelings just don't cut it. You need data.
And to get that answer, you turn to the data. Azure Boards gives you these key metrics that basically act as a real-time health check for your sprint, turning all those raw numbers into a clear signal. Probably the most important one is the Burndown chart. That lighter bar shows the perfect, ideal path to finishing all the work on time. The darker bar? That's your actual remaining work.
If you see your actual work consistently floating above that ideal line, that is a crystal clear, early warning sign that the team is falling behind and you need to talk about it.
So how do you get better at planning for the next sprint? That's where velocity comes into play. It's simply the average amount of work a team gets done in a sprint, usually measured in something called story points. So if a team's velocity is 35, they know they can pretty reliably plan for about 35 points of work next time. And it's not a target to beat, it's a historical fact that makes your future planning way more predictable.
The sprint might be over, but the cycle isn't. All of that data you generated during the sprint, that stuff is pure gold. It's the key to reporting your progress accurately and, even more importantly, to actually getting better over time.
Dashboards are how you make sense of all this data, and they are not just for managers. A developer might have a dashboard showing just their bugs, while a leader gets that 30,000-foot view of the entire project. It's all about getting the right information to the right person at the right time.
For instance, a leadership dashboard rolls up all that nitty-gritty data into trends. They aren't looking at individual tasks anymore. They're asking bigger questions. Is our velocity stable over time? Is the whole epic on track for the release? Are we introducing more bugs than we're fixing? These are the strategic questions that dashboards help you answer at a glance.
And this is where the real magic happens: integration. When a developer commits their code, that single action can automatically kick off a new build, and at the same time, flip the status of the task in Azure Boards from in progress to done. This automation is a huge time saver, and it gives you perfect traceability from the code all the way back to the original requirement.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this. What Azure Boards does incredibly well is create that clear, unbreakable link from the smallest task a developer is working on right now all the way up to the major business goal it supports. Everyone on the team can see exactly how their daily grind contributes to the big picture.
At the end of the day, these tools generate a ton of data about how your team actually works. The burndown chart, your velocity, your cycle times, it's all telling a story about your process. So the real question is, are you taking the time to listen to it?